Here's a question. Are Starfield paid creation vehicles actually worth the money? In my last video, I tested Starfield's 3 free vehicles, the Rev-8, the Daymog, and the Moonjumper. Today I'm testing 3 paid creations, 3 rover-style vehicles, the UC-LAV, the CHRP-R, and the VTOL rover. Sure, you can get free mods that improve vehicle performance, but I'm doing a Starfield Platinum Trophy playthrough on my PlayStation at the moment, so for me, standard mods aren't an option. But Bethesda to the rescue, they've made and monetized a loophole, trophy achievement friendly paid vehicle creations. But whether you care about achievements or not, paid vehicles still need to justify themselves. So today I'm testing whether 3 of them beat the free options or added new features to help you explore Starfield. I tested and compared vertical boost, speed, weapons, armor, turning circle, and terrain traverse. My professional stunt driver Dave is back behind the wheel.
Nice hat.
How you doing, Dave? Oh dude, that looks really uncomfortable. We'll start with a vertical boost. I timed each vehicle's vertical boost until the boost fuel ran out or until the vehicle hit Starfield's artificial height limit. If it hit the limit, I checked how much boost fuel was left in the tank. Obviously, a planet's gravity will affect these results. We'll start with the CHRP-R, the compact hybrid reconnaissance personal rover. It is described as a retro-futuristic monowheel built for solo exploration. It certainly has a distinctive design. I like it. It's cool, it's futuristic, it's even, dare I say it, slightly adorable. Although perhaps too futuristic for Starfield's NASA punk aesthetic. Maybe? What do you think? There's no room for a companion, they just appear once you dismount, which is no doubt an easier solution than to have them drive their own CHRP-R. Just imagine. One feature unique to the CHRP-R is this dynamic dashboard. It shows vertical boost, forward thrust, headlights, and water jet deployment. Sure, it's not essential, I don't need a dash to tell me I've got boost on, but it's a great touch. I think it was that dashboard, combined with the CHRP-R's smaller overall footprint, inspired stunt driver Dave to try it out as his daily drive around New Atlantis. Good lord, Dave. Anyway, back to vertical boost. The CHRP-R's vertical lift lasted about 4 seconds, which is twice what we got out of the Rev-8 and Daymog, 2 of the free vehicles. Though at 4 seconds, I'd say it's still in the hop over obstacles territory. It's useful, but not enough to let you scout landmarks from up on high. The UC Centaurus light attack vehicle, or UC-LAV, it performed better. Has a much more military feel than most other vehicles. It looks like something the United Colonies would actually use on patrol. Its vertical boost lasted 8.3 seconds before cutting out, twice that of the CHRP-R, which puts it in the medium range of all vehicles tested. That gives it enough lift to clear major obstacles and ignore large patches of rough terrain, and on somewhere like Jemison, I found it will probably get you as high as you need, but it doesn't allow that sustained flight of some of those high lift vehicles like the Moonjumper or, as we'll see, the VTOL-R. The VTOL rover is more complicated. The vertical takeoff and landing rover is a hybrid rover hovercraft. Its creation page describes it primarily as a land vehicle, but when terrain gets rough, you can rotate its wheel assembly and deploy integrated vertical thrusters, letting it operate as a quad jet. Very cool. That animation is great, I think, because it lets you see the boost being engaged. It doesn't feel like it's a car that just floats, unlike some of the more dedicated hovercraft vehicles that we'll look at in the next video. The VTOL-R has the best vertical boost of the 3. It reached the game's maximum height, just as the Moonjumper did in my previous vid, but the VTOL did it slowly, really slowly. It took nearly 28 seconds to reach that height limit, compared with the Moonjumper's 18 seconds. However, unlike the Moonjumper, the VTOL-R still had most of its boost fuel left when it hit the ceiling. So the VTOL-R has poor vertical climb speed but excellent boost endurance. Think of it as a really large boost fuel tank maybe. As such, the vertical boost winner amongst these paid rovers is the VTOL-R. Speed, well, we have a new fastest vehicle, wow. Starfield doesn't have many clean, flat, straight surfaces to test vehicle speed, so I used a stretch of highway in New Atlantis, provided by the Galactic Highway Network paid creation. Each vehicle started from the same point, and I stopped the clock when it hit the far wall. Since this is a test from a standing start over a fixed distance, we're testing both acceleration and speed, which is important since acceleration has a big impact on terrain traverse performance, which we'll get to in a minute. So the UC-LAV beat the fastest free rover. It completed our test in 20.6 seconds, which beat the Daemog, the fastest of the free vehicles. The VTOL-R gave a middle of the pack performance. It hit the wall in 30.5 seconds, which is about the same as the free Rev 8. The CHRP-R did it in 39.7 seconds, which not only makes it the slowest in this test, but the slowest overall. It is slower than the Moonjumper. As an aside, I mentioned gravity affects vertical lift, but it also impacts speed. I noticed on very low gravity planets, these vehicles are slow to a crawl, to the point of, I think, being useless. This could be low traction due to reduced weight, but I actually think it's the hand of Bethesda at work, making sure that these vehicles just don't turn into some kind of permanent projectile when you hit that boost. So we have a good spread of results here. The CHRP-R is the slowest, the VTOL is middle of the road, and the UC-LAV was clearly the fastest, and speed is important if you're soft and squishy, which brings us to armor. Comparing armor is simple. I'm using the armor percentage listing in each vehicle's in-game selection page. I found no clear explanation of what vehicle armor protects against. I assumed it was just combat damage, but commenters in my last video said it also seems to provide some protection from environmental damage, and that is good to know. Anyway, the VTOL-R has the lowest armor score at 12%. This is the lowest of all 6 vehicles tested. And it makes sense, I guess. The VTOL is light, agile, and it's built around mobility rather than protection. The UC-LAV has an armor rating of 25, which is the same as the Rev 8, Starfield's first vehicle. 25 is lower than I would have guessed based on its military looks, though I guess it's an open-top vehicle and the L in LAV stands for light. So in armor terms, the UC-LAV is only average. The CHRP-R has an armor rating of 50%, which is weirdly good. You are sitting there completely exposed in a position that looks vulnerable, but the armor rating is double that of the Rev 8. Maybe there's a force field. Just note the design of the CHRP-R mentioned they were limited to existing animations and postures for the creation, which is why Dave has taken a swap. Ideally, I think he'd be sitting on it more like a jet ski. For reference, the Daemog has 60% and the Moonjumper has 65% armor protection. So not what I expected, but the armor winner is the CHRP-R. On to weapons. Turrets are useful, but vehicle combat has its limits. With a vehicle's turret, you can clear away wildlife or delete a few enemies outside a point of interest, but if you want to clear the place out and get all that precious loot, at some point you're going to have to leave your vehicle behind, which I guess is what the designers of the CHRP-R were thinking, as it's the only vehicle tested with no weapons at all. No turrets, no lasers, no rockets, nothing. The UC-LAV has a turret, a good one. It uses a mounted automatic laser. It has a damage per second score of 252, which puts it in the middle range, about the same as the Daemog. It fires long bursts before being depleted, but it does recharge quickly, making it more practical than the Daemog's rocket launcher. Sounds good? Yeah, but the VTOL-R is on another level. It uses a high-speed, full auto laser turret and produces 600 DPS, the highest weapon result of all vehicles tested. It's insanely accurate. It fires 100 rounds before needing to recharge, and again, it's a quick recharge. So its sustained fire clears away unwanted pirates and critters and due to its power and accuracy, it makes mining mineral deposits from the comfort of your vehicle super easy. So the weapon winner is the VTOL by a lot. Turning circle. Turning circle was treated the same way as I did in the previous video, by letting Dave the driver fang a few donuts on the new Atlantis launch pad. The CHRP-R was the clear winner here. When I was able to control it properly, which was a bit tricky, it can almost spin on the spot. It also makes a very satisfying tyre squeal, I found. The UC-LAV and the VTOL had the same turning circle as each other, the same as the Rev 8. In fact, with the exception of the CHRP-R's tight donuts and the Daymog's wide turning circle, which we saw in the previous video, all other vehicles had about the same turning circle. So the turning circle winner here is the CHRP-R. But does a tight turning circle translate to good terrain traverse? Well, my results may surprise you. Terrain traversal. I think terrain traversal is the most important test. Sure, speed helps, weapons help, good armor never hurts, but in vehicle, we spend most of our time exploring, so navigating cluttered terrain becomes inevitable. Here I'm looking for a paid rover that beats the Moon Jumper, which was our best free rover for terrain traversal. For this test, I drove each vehicle across rough ground, over obstacles, through different surfaces, and in different gravity conditions. I looked at how often they got stuck, how well they handled collisions, and how quickly they recovered momentum after being stopped. I first tried to standardize this test by using the same obstacles, but I found the vehicles behaved really differently, even with just slight changes to angle or speed. So in the end, this test had to come down to my overall impressions. Besides the dashboard, another feature unique to the CHRP-R are its water jets. They're great. They pop out when you hit the water, though not in fountains, as Dave confirmed. Thank you. With those jets, the CHRP-R moves across water really fast, probably better than on land, and that's the problem. On land, the CHRP-R struggles. It gets stuck more often than the other two paid rovers, and when it hits an obstacle, it often stops dead instead of rolling away or bouncing off. And its really low acceleration means it's slower to recover momentum. The UC-LAV is much better. This is the sensible paid rover. It has heavy tyres, good ground traction, strong acceleration, and sits nice and high in the water. I found it fun to drive. It feels very stable without the floatiness that some vehicles have. It turns when and how you want it to. It controls really well. It might struggle more than the Moon Jumper with large obstacles though, but I think its quick acceleration and control make up for that. The VTOL-R handles terrain better than the free Rev 8 and the Daymog. It gets over small and medium rocks cleanly, and when the ground becomes too annoying, it can lift off. Well, I guess they all can do that, but the VTOL just has that really cool wheel animation. It does feel a bit lighter than the UC-LAV, and it's a bit more likely to bounce away from obstacles, but it still feels more solid than the old Rev 8. As for the winner, it's a tough call between the UC-LAV and the VTOL-R. I've used the VTOL as my main vehicle for a while, but I have to admit, reusing the LAV recently to get some gameplay footage for this video, I noticed it's more controllable. So despite what I wrote in my early notes, I'm going to declare the UC-LAV as the winner of the terrain test. So, are these paid vehicles an improvement over the free options? That's the question. The CHRP-R is easily the most distinctive looking, but it's hard to recommend it over the free options. Sure, it has that dynamic dashboard, automatic water jets, a tight turning circle, and personality for miles. It also has the best armor of this lineup, somehow. But as an exploration vehicle, it struggles. It's slow, it has a short vertical boost, no weapon at all, and unfortunately handles poorly over rough terrain. The VTOL-R is a different story. Its speed is average and its armor rating is low. Its boost speed is low too, I guess, but its boost fuel tank is massive, so you'll be hard pressed to run it dry during a normal playthrough, and its weapon is crazy powerful, easily the best weapon I've tested so far. The UC-LAV, though, is the one that surprised me the most. Its vertical lift is good, not excellent, like the VTOL. Its weapon is good, again though, the VTOL's is better, but it's the fastest vehicle tested. It's also stable, controllable, and it looks and feels like a proper patrol vehicle. And after my recent retest, I actually think the UC-LAV beats the VTOL-R over rough terrain. So, pick the VTOL-R for the best weapon and strongest boost. Pick the CHRP-R for street cred, or just to satisfy your curiosity. Pick the UC-LAV for excellent speed and terrain traversal. Oh, and it's also the cheapest paid vehicle in the creation store. In the next video, I'll look at paid hover-style vehicles and see whether removing wheels solves our eternal struggle with rocks. We shall see. If you've tried any of these paid vehicles, let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed that. Please give the video a like, that'd be great. I'll make videos on the more technical aspects of my favourite games, many of which are Bethesda games. They include mod comparison vids and frame rate analysis videos, so consider subscribing to not miss out. That'd be great. Thanks. All right. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Ramnix is out.